Senior Somali politicians are among the 20 people killed.
Nearly 140,000 people have been displaced since fighting erupted in Sudan's Darfur.
When terrorists attacked the Westgate Mall in Nairobi, Kenya last month.
And this is bad news, really, because it does seem that if it is true that Al-Shabaab is behind...
Whereas the leadership believes in Pan-Africanism, regional stability, supporting your brothers when they are on fire, because that is our ideology. It does not make sense to us when we are sleeping in our comfortable beds, but the neighborhood is in trouble, because that trouble can also spill over to your own house.
Spillover gets into some of our countries that are members of IGAD, and because they're already in the IGAD region, then they spill over further into other countries. This really has been a cause of several discomfort regionally. But what we have done is to improve relationships between security and intelligence agencies in our countries amongst ourselves, so that if and when occurrences of these events happen, then there's a high-level intelligence reports exchange.
The Conflict Early Warning and Response Mechanism Cewarn is a regional mechanism that was set up in 2002 by IGAD member states for early detection and prevention of violent conflicts through the use of data and analysis. Through Cewarn, these countries are able to work together to proactively respond to common peace and security challenges. Cewarn is one of IGAD's specialized units under the Peace and Security Division, which works in close collaboration with other specialized programs. The mechanism is also part of the African Peace and Security Architecture through its working and legal linkage with the African Union Continental Early Warning System and similar systems of other African regional economic communities. Cewarn is also recognized as a continental pioneer with its working methods and technological tools for managing vast amounts of early warning data readily adopted by the African Union and several regional economic communities.
Even if Cewarn was not created, the member states would still have developed some system to support their cross-border activities. So Cewarn is there by demand because the member states felt and the communities felt that they needed a mechanism that then will help them collaborate in conflict prevention across the border and of course generally across the region.
Its operations are driven by the need in the IGAD region for proactive and timely response to violent conflicts. It is also driven by an aspiration of building an IGAD region where human security is upheld and where conflicts are resolved peacefully and justly. Between 2002 and 2012, Cewarn engaged in early warning and response work, focusing on cross-border pastoral and related conflicts. It was able to do this effectively through a region-wide network of civil society and governmental organizations that collaboratively undertook early warning data collection, analysis and response activities. 3 cross-border areas or clusters were identified for piloting the mechanism's early warning and response operations. These pilot areas were the Somali cluster, covering the cross-border areas of Ethiopia, Kenya and Somalia; the Karamoja cluster, covering the cross-border areas of Ethiopia, Kenya, South Sudan and Uganda, which is the largest of all Cewarn areas of operations; and the Dikil cluster, which is the smallest of all areas of operations across Djibouti and Ethiopia border. At the heart of Cewarn's operations and its successes in its first decade of operations was the active engagement of citizens and community-based institutions in the mechanism's work. Bekele is an Ethiopian whose passion is to see peace both within and the surrounding areas of his community. He has actively pursued this passion as a Cewarn field monitor stationed in Dire Woreda. Dire Woreda is a rural district in the Oromia region of Ethiopia, close to the Ethiopia-Kenya border.
Mainly the majority of the livestock are cattle, some goats and some donkeys and a few camels.
Bekele keeps a watchful eye by regularly monitoring and reporting on developments that signal towards a threat of violence occurring among the neighboring communities in the district.
I've been working on this project for the last 7 to 8 years, I think.
The decision by IGAD member states to have Cewarn begin its operations with a limited focus on cross-border pastoral and related conflicts was a strategic decision. It was intended to address the high prevalence of inter-communal violent conflicts among pastoral communities in the region as a starting point for eventual expansion to other types of conflicts and areas throughout the region. Bekele, like other field monitors stationed across the region, represents an important node of Cewarn's region-wide network at the grassroots level, engaged in early warning data collection. Their work feeds into a larger network of government and civil society actors that play complementary roles in data collection, analysis, early warning information dissemination, and response operations at community, national, and regional levels. Bekele's work as a Cewarn field monitor requires him to spend most of his days about 100 miles away from his family. This is not easy, but his passion for peace work keeps him motivated. He always looks forward to the weekends when he can travel to visit his family in Moyale town on the Ethiopia-Kenya border.
Even though I live here most of my time, I spend my time where I usually work. So maybe sometimes I come here once in 2 weeks or twice a week. And when I come, I love my mother, so the first thing I do is to greet her, then the rest will come. I have experienced so many things. I have been attacked even by these bandits. They try to rob us from money, and all this scars is from them. I incurred during their fight.
Pastoral communities in the Horn of Africa region inhabit up to 70% of the region's landmass and make up the largest concentration of pastoral communities globally. They rely on a livestock-based production system that involves extensive use of land for grazing and high mobility of both people and livestock. This highly mobile lifestyle, coupled with fierce competition for limited resources amongst communities, often leads to violent conflict. The Karamoja region of Uganda, located in the northeastern part of the country, comprises a large part of the Karamoja cluster, where Cewarn has been operating. The region's history is characterized by violent conflicts in the form of cattle raids, as well as proliferation of small arms and light weapons. High level of insecurity, coupled with harsh climatic conditions, as well as recurrent drought, greatly hindered the region's development. Since 2002, the government of Uganda embarked on a series of disarmament programs that have largely been successful in bringing about security to pave way for development in the region. Cewarn's early warning and response operations have complemented this national effort in strengthening dialogue among communities in the Karamoja region and establishing and strengthening local peace committees that are able to proactively address communal violent conflicts.
With the advent of the gun, it sort of changed the dynamics. The power relations shifted from the traditional way as it is understood, being in the hands of the elders commanding, and everything being culturally and socially driven.
People were killing themselves, were destroying their cows This one can go and grab the cows from his fellow friend.
Karamoja has seen positive change in the recent years with a drastic reduction of violent conflict among communities within and across the border. Improved peace and security has led to greater focus on development initiatives.
We are in peace with our neighbors. Laburians there, Bokora there, Ododoso there, and Turquana. And people are now running morning and sunset going to Turquana, Kenya, freely, without any disturbance, as it used before.
An atmosphere has been created that has attracted development agencies that implement projects aimed at improving the livelihood of pastoral communities, including efforts to increase enrollment of children in schools. ABEC, which stands for Alternative Basic Education for Karamoja, is an initiative aimed at tackling low school enrollment rate of Karamojong children who are highly mobile as they follow their animals to graze. Teachers follow these children to where they settle with their animals for pasture and water to set up mobile classes. ABEC, because of its highly adoptive approach, offers a rare opportunity for these children to attend school and aspire for a better future. In the horizon beyond are hills bordering two countries, Djibouti and Ethiopia. Communities living along this border share common ethnic and cultural backgrounds, as well as a long history of violent conflict due to competition over limited resources. For generations, traditional conflict resolution mechanisms have been relied upon for mediation and fostering dialogue among these communities. Like in the Karamoja and Somalia clusters, Cewarn's response initiatives in the Dikil cluster emphasized support to homegrown solutions to conflicts and the strengthening of community-based institutions to expand their capabilities in conflict prevention.
nabadda deegaanada iyo ciisaha u dhaxaysa dibtu waxa ay ka joogtay had iyo jeer la isku laayina waa caws biyo iyo xoolaha iyo dil kolkay wax dhacaan ee la dilo haddii dhiig la dilo dee kuwa ku gurmada ee qoladaas oo qabta ee magta dee u kala qaada yaan hode sidaa baa yar lagu qaboobaa haddana.
In 2009, Cewarn established the Rapid Response Fund, a basket fund designed to support communal peace initiatives across the region. Through the fund, Cewarn has been supporting communal dialogue initiatives and modest livelihood projects in all of its areas of operations to enhance peaceful coexistence of communities. Cewarn has also used the fund to support sports tournaments for youth along the Ethiopia-Kenya border, as well as peace clubs in high schools in the Karamoja region of Uganda.
From the documentation we have now, we can affirm that there's actually a reduction in the intensity of violence conflicts happening in these areas. We can say that we have contributed tremendously in ensuring that there's a change of conflict terrain.
Cross-border areas in the IGAD region that have long been considered remote and inaccessible are fast becoming hubs of economic development. Steady expansion of road and communication networks across the region has given a boost to economic activities within and along border areas. Currently, there is a high momentum in economic cooperation between Djibouti and Ethiopia, facilitated by a well-established road network and a new railway line connecting the two countries. This regional trend, which transforms previously hard to reach cross-border areas into socio-economic and cultural hubs, will be key in enhancing human development across the region. Such is the ideal for all cross-border areas in the IGAD region. When IGAD heads of state and government made a decision in Khartoum, Sudan on 23 November 2000 on the establishment of a mechanism for conflict prevention and the development of a protocol guiding its operations, they had a grand vision. It was for it to incrementally develop into a robust mechanism that will address all manners of interstate and intrastate conflicts. And the time towards the fulfillment of that vision has finally come. In 2012, Cewarn went through a historic transition with the development of a new strategy framework that expands its work far beyond cross-border pastoral conflicts and limited cross-border areas. This transition was guided by a decision of Cewarn's highest decision-making organ, the Committee of Permanent Secretaries, that comprises state ministers of foreign affairs of IGAD member states at its meeting held in May 2011 in Mombasa, Kenya. The Cewarn strategy development process was groundbreaking as it involved extensive consultation with community, national and regional level players, including more than 5,000 citizens across the region.
We decided that we had to grow the strategy from the grassroots. And so we made ourselves into small teams, we got in cars, and for some weeks were traveling on the ground, discussing people's hopes, their aspirations, their challenges, and trying to identify the strength in their communities in terms of seeking solutions. And we spoke to thousands of people. Included in those engagements were the local officials. We then included national officials from a variety of ministries and agencies. And at every point, we did not want to speak, we just wanted to listen. And we wanted to design a strategy that was designed by the people.
We had a conversation with people in Karamoja initially, like the way it was put, to talk with them, to see has the system served their interest. So this new strategic plan is going to look at all types of conflicts, under economic, under social, under governance. Like the issues of governance, that was sort of like a no-go area. But I think after working for over 10 years, confidence has been built between government and non-state actors, CSOs. So it was agreed by the Committee of Permanent Secretaries that now the system can expand and begin looking at other types of conflicts.
And I think we succeeded. We brought an innovative approach. We used structured visual thinking. When all is said and done, I think it will be found that Cewarn probably designed one of the most participatory and innovative strategy development processes on this continent, and if not the world.
The findings of the strategy development process were overwhelmingly positive and stressed a big need for Cewarn to expand. The consultations identified over 60 conflict themes beside cross-border pastoral conflicts as priorities across the region for Cewarn to begin to engage. The Cewarn Strategy Framework 2012 to 2019, which articulates a roadmap of implementation of this expanded mandate, went through several reviews before it was adopted at a high-level meeting in September 2012 in Kampala, Uganda. As a first key step in implementing the new strategy, Cewarn, working with thematic experts, synthesized the 60 identified priority conflict typologies into 15 key themes categorized under 5 key sectors. The rollout of the new strategy entailed a significant expansion of the mechanism's networks at all levels to be able to process more thematically diverse and larger volume of data across the region. It also required an upgrading to more cutting-edge technology and expanded use of new media.
Previously, we were sending information through sheets, hard copy, that will be sent to the national level to be coded. But this one, you can have it on mobile. So it's a real-time information. If an incident is going to be reported just now, because we have the GIS software behind, it will be plotted on the dashboard immediately. So we call it real-time.
Another key focus of Cewarn's new operations is strengthening the capacity of National Conflict Early Warning and Response Units, CEWARUs, to effectively oversee early warning and response operations at the national level. National CEWARUs are the most critical of the mechanism, as they represent IGAD member states' ownership and commitment. It is the strength of the national CEWARUs in leading Cewarn's operations at the national level that determines Cewarn's regional impact.
CEWARU actually is a committee. It's a committee that brings together different governmental agencies. For example, the parliament, the law enforcement agencies, various ministries that are relevant to the kind of work that we are doing, civil society organizations, research and academic institutions, and so forth. That structure of the CEWARU goes all the way to the grassroots, what we are calling in some places district peace committees, but we like to call them the local peace committees.
National CEWARUs have established situation rooms where a real-time observation of the development at the national level occurs. Designated officers manning the situation rooms alongside community-based data collectors representing a network of civil society organizations from member states are trained on new features of the Cewarn Reporter tool that Cewarn has been using to track, categorize and analyze early warning data.
In the drop-down, select country Uganda.
The conflict early warning, early response units in different countries have to be, of course, strengthened. This will call for our own internal capacity to be improved. Only then can we interact better and ensure that the CEWARU's strength and capacity is enhanced. Having done that, then definitely they will be better placed to influence their direct path to the presidency.
As Cewarn evolves into a robust regional early warning and response mechanism, it also intends to increasingly inform long-term peace, security and development policymaking to help IGAD member states effectively address the root causes of violent conflicts in the region.
And so Cewarn has been a pioneer moving in to provide peace, reconciliation and ways to engage communities that are unique to it. Now, when you talk about the present environment and you look at the rise of groups such as ISIS, when you look at the rise of groups such as Al-Shabaab and their actions, they are groups that are responding to vacuums of state presence. And it is only now, if you look at any state in the region, and in fact even globally, the very lessons of Cewarn are the lessons being learned now.
Cewarn's work will continue to amplify local voices and solutions to violent conflicts, as well as equip local institutions to respond in addressing violent conflict threats. It has also devised a tailor-made training program that transforms its field monitors into local peace facilitators who would be available on demand to lead local response projects. So, the likes of Bekele will continue to contribute meaningfully to Cewarn's operations moving forward.
This training is really going to be of great help to me because it's going to really address on these emerging issues, and I'm really going to be interested with the whole issue of trauma healing processes. In the pastoral conflict and now the emerging issues all have these traumatizing effects.
Sure as day. Today there are people who are alive because of Cewarn. I know this as a fact. There are conflicts that have been stopped. There are friendships that have been made. And surely, after 10 years of existence, if you can say you've saved one life, isn't that a great achievement? But what if you can say you've saved hundreds? What if you can say that the conflicts that you stopped may have killed thousands? So in this way, I think the simplest accolade for 10 years of Cewarn's existence is that it has mattered to people's lives.
I see Cewarn as having charted its own path, as having really become a pioneer in its own right, as having produced a very, very heavy database on conflict systems and natures, and a lot of analysis has been done by Cewarn. I see Cewarn as providing a cross-cutting capacity in all the 4 thematic areas of our peace and security strategy. So I really see Cewarn as having been a blessing that has been constituted by the membership of IGAD that has really found a life of its own, and whose functions we need to invest in and support.
I will tell Cewarn to take care of those local peace committees. They can do more than, a battalion of army during peace. Okay.